Take the F-50 catamaran. Add the world's greatest sailors. And some Mediterranean magic. And you get the France Sail Grand Prix in Saint-Tropez.
Hurry up, boys, come on.
I love this job.
It's a beautiful day in the Mediterranean playground of Saint-Tropez, France. The crowds are taking their vantage points alongside the seafront. The champagne corks are popping in the spectator flute, and the harbor has been cleared for action. As the crews on their F-50 catamarans go into their final countdowns for the decisive second day of the Saint-Tropez Grand Prix. And they will be tested today. But first, let's check out the conditions on the water with Ali Vance.
Yes, another stunning day. I'm out on the water where there isn't a cloud in the sky. And like yesterday, a decent sea breeze has filled in, stronger than forecast. It's around 15 to 17 kilometres an hour, coming straight into the bay from the east. They'll be sailing with the usual 5 crew on board. But as the F-50s go through some final preparations, you might notice that they look a bit different, because for the first time in history, all 8 of them are kitted out with the new cutting-edge 29-metre wing. The thing is, these wings were only tested in Denmark just last month. Most of the sailors have never actually used them before, so it's been a bit of a steep learning curve for them this morning, both the drivers, but also the person responsible for trimming these beasts, like Carl Langford, on board the Australian boat.
I mean, the performance is quite different. We're actually able to fly a hull a lot sooner. It actually doesn't feel like we can foil much easier. And to be honest, the manoeuvres feel quite a bit harder because we're about 80 kilos of extra weight with the new wing section. So I think the boats are getting up and going a little easier, from displacement mode, but then we're struggling a little bit with manoeuvres. So I think it's going to be pretty key today to be able to build speed going into the manoeuvres and try and keep the rudders out of the water.
In your discussions with Tom Slingsby, do you guys change your strategy at all now that you have the 29-meter wing?
Yeah, absolutely. We're changing the way we're sailing the boat, and we've been working with Ben, our coach, to kind of look at what the other teams are doing. They're looking at the data coming off the other boats and really analysing what they're doing so we can try and match what they're doing if they're doing it better. And it's really going to be a lot about the manoeuvres and keeping the boat going quickly out of those.
Kyle, thanks for your time. Good luck today.
This new wing is big. It's 6 metres higher than the nearest existing all-purpose wing and has an extra 30 square metres in area for liftoff. The foils will be the bigger of the two that the F-50 can use, known as the light air boards, measuring 2 metres deep and almost 3 metres in the horizontal span. The bigger area allows foiling earlier at 27 kilometres an hour, although the downside of increased area and drag reduces the achievable top speed. At the back of the boat, the rudders do more than just steer. To allow the wing to carry more power and help keep the boat level from front to back, each has a horizontal elevator that has to handle forces of a ton or over.
It's going to be fascinating to watch the crews trying to tame the big new wings today on the Riviera. And the pressure is right on, as in the first 3 races yesterday, the scoreboard was almost turned upside down. Great tack by the French crew. So, we've got contact coming. Boys for Japan.
Oh, too high, too high, too high.
SailGP's 5th round saw all the teams have their time in the limelight across 3 races in the beautiful waters of Saint-Tropez. USA broke their run of bad luck with wing trimmer Paul Campbell-James returning from a rapid rehab after breaking his leg in Aarhus.
USA, Jimmy Spithill, and the Bionic Man, Paul Campbell-James. Well, what did he tell us in the interview, guys? We just got to beat more boats, and they're doing exactly that.
Spithill hunted down Denmark in race 3 to end the day on top and make a charge for their first event win.
And the Americans will make it 2 for 2 on 9/11.
New Zealand featured for the first time in the top 3. Could this be a sign of their raw talent being applied to the F50? Spain delivered 2 classic pre-starts in the Phil Robertson way, this time without a penalty.
Has Robertson got room? Yes, he has. But my word, that was tight at the top.
A tight finish with New Zealand in race 1 landed them joint on points with Japan.
Coming up. Big lap, right down.
After back-to-back event wins, Australia's luck ran out with gear failure.
The whole boat just shut down. No redress available. Like, got a boat that doesn't work the entire day. We just got to suck it up and come last.
France took the lead in race 2, but they failed to take their penalty and didn't recover.
I mean, I know famously Billy Besson doesn't look at his instruments, but come on, man, you've had a penalty for the whole downwind. Look behind you, boys, you've got a penalty.
I don't think we have a penalty. Yes, we have one.
GBR led the way from start to finish in race 1, but with out-of-character performances for the rest of the day, they sit mid-table and will be gunning for a top 3 spot with the rest of the fleet, with Denmark relying on their shore team for a quick repair after colliding with a race mark.
Yeah, he's not going to be very popular with the shore crew at all. That's a big bit of carbon.
So after 3 races on day number 1, this is what the scoreboard looks like. The USA out in front. Remember, they got a 5th and 2 first. They have 20 points now, with New Zealand sitting in 2nd on 17. And there you see the tie for 3rd between Spain and Japan. A bit of work to do for Great Britain and Bain Ainsley, Denmark, France, and Australia rounding out the rest of the fleet. So a big day today on Sunday, 2 fleet races, and then the final race. Before they left the shore, Ali Vance caught up with a few of the skippers.
Yeah, obviously yesterday was a really tough day for us. It's one of those days where you want to sort of forget about and move on. My old coach used to tell me you don't lose talent overnight, so we just got to brush this one off, and we know that we've got the skills to win and come back strong today. Yeah, we've been sailing so well lately, especially in SailGP. We've won the last 2 events. We felt really good coming into this one, and to have technical issues. We're down the back of the pack, but we've got to salvage some points today and yeah, start thinking about the overall series and try to save some points there.
An opportunity to get on the podium. You just have to put together a few good races, make it through that final 3, and then you've got a shot at winning it as well. So for us, it's about trying to make sure we get through to the final in these next 2 races, and then giving their all in that final if we get there.
Well, certainly analysing the racing from yesterday helps, and those starts are obviously all important. And it was a bit slightly different yesterday in terms of the wind angle to the start line, so there's a bit there that we've been looking at and trying to get the acceleration. And the acceleration with these new wings as well will be slightly different. So there's a lot to always keep tweaking to try and get that optimum start. And then if you can get off the start line in good shape, it generally tends to make the rest of the race a whole lot easier.
So after 4 events in Season 2, this is what the season looks like on standings. Australia 2 points clear. Remember, they're the defending champions from last year. Great Britain sitting in 2nd place, and there's Nathan Outteridge, Japan, sitting in 3rd. 1 point back at the Japanese. Jimmy Spithill and Team USA on 26 points. New Zealand starting to move their way up, sitting on 23 and 5th. And then you have Spain, France, and Denmark trying to make a move here, with the next event being in Cadiz, Spain on October 9th and 10th. Alongside Stevie Morrison and Freddie Carr, I'm Todd Harris. Glad to have you with us here on a beautiful day in the Mediterranean. Freddie, there's no way of getting around it. The big feature today are those massive wings.
Yeah, I mean, that's the biggest wing that we've ever put above an F50, and it's there to capture the super light wing, and it's doing it well. Looking back at the scoreboard you were just talking about, Todd, we're on board with the Australians here doing a practice run into Mark 1. pressure on these guys today. They had such a bad day with technical issues on board the boat, and they're on a salvage job for the season. They might not be looking to get in the top 3, but they've got to be looking to come away from France with some good points to add to the overall leaderboard.
Yeah, and I just think it's a really great opportunity for the new teams. New wings, new experience, everyone's out there learning. There's been a lot of learning we've heard coming off the boat, and I think that'll be the feature of the day. Who learns these new wings quickest? Without doubt, the most gutted person to have that big wing up today, Jimmy Spithill, because they were sailing so well yesterday, fast with that setup, and a change of setup means there's a great opportunity for a change on that leaderboard.
So to give you an idea of what will take place today, we'll have 2 fleet races, and then after that, we will find out the top 3 boats, and they will battle it out in one race, winner takes all, and someone who's going to walk away with the title of the France Sail Grand Prix, trying to break the streak that Australia's been on. Remember, they've won the last 2 events, and it looks like they will probably not be able to get there, but you never know. They still are in the running to possibly make the top 3. And it'll be all to play for here on the French Riviera in the shadows of the famous bell tower as Stevie takes us through the course map.
Well, that's right. Here we are in Saint-Tropez, a fantastic venue, and the 2 minutes before the start of this race is going to be crucial. We saw that yesterday. Ben Ainsley told us about that. The positioning here will define your race. It's a sprint to mark number 1, and the distance between mark 1 and the boundary is really short today. So the decision making is going to start instantly for the approach to gate 2. At gate 2, well, you've got the option to turn left or to turn right. And the crews will be looking for a different course to find the best wind or better direction. The boats behind, they're either forced to follow or try and find a different strategy, looking to find that better wind to give themselves a chance to overtake. Gate 3, well, these big wings are going to be interesting to see how the crews can control the power that we see bearing away there. Again, it's an opportunity for the boats behind to split away, search out better wind, and see if they can pass the boats ahead. By the time we get down to gate number 4 and the boats turn upwind for the final time, well, we know they can't sail directly into the wind, so they're going to begin zigzagging up the course again. But the best teams, well, they're going to find a shorter course, or they're going to find those gusts of more wind and more power to sail the boat faster to the next mark. Gate 5, we saw a lot of place changing yesterday, so that sprint to the finish will be absolutely crucial underneath Saint-Tropez. And this cool view over the course here, we can see it's light winds, but we got the new wings, we got a lot of power, and there will be plenty of action out there today, don't you worry.
SailGP powered by nature, and the 29-meter wings are on full display today on the French Riviera as we get set for race number 4. The Americans lead so far after yesterday's performance of a 5th and 2 first place. And we'll see what Australia can do. As Freddie pointed out, it might be a salvage day as we are now 90 seconds away from the start.
On board with the Australians, had a tough day yesterday. Important moments 90 seconds ago, talking about how they're going to manage the course. That's a really great shot of just how huge these 29-meter wings are. When you pan down to the humans on board, you get a great idea of the scale. Let's look at the start line here. The blue little triangle at the bottom of the course of the line is pole position, and watching all the pre-start practice they've been doing, the boat that has won that blue spot has gone on to lead at Mark 1. That, Stevie, is why everyone is congregating together at the bottom of the line.
Yeah, it's trying to get off that pole position, but that's pole position in a perfect world. Key really is who can be up on the foils foiling when this gun happens in this light wind. We've got on board Australia, Tom Slingsby's chosen to lead back a little early. That's Kyle Langford saying we're early. Not a great thing to hear. Ben Ainsley, we'll look at him hovering to the right of screen, and Peter Burling. They're going to look for a late arrival somewhere near this pole position spot. Who's timed it well? Big wing, big heel over on board the Australian boat. How are they going to turn things out? Here comes Burling, diving in across in front of the Japanese. He's got control. I like where Outeridge is, though, if he can build the space. Nate Burling trying to kill the speed desperately quickly. Here we go. We're turning down. Watch for the light to go white. They're all early here. They're all really early. Really, what is happening here? This is unbelievable. There's the line clear. Well, big wings had too much power. They're all over early. They've got penalties.
Okay, this is the
they
umpires.
all need
Japan,
to get
New
behind.
Zealand, USA, GBR, Australia, Spain, all over the line early. target boat, get behind Denmark, get behind Denmark, please.
So a rash of penalties dished out at the very start as they make their way to mark number 1.
Where's Denmark? So you've got to look for Denmark there, doing 48 kilometres an hour, right of picture. They're effectively the lead boat right now. Everybody with a P above them has got to get behind Denmark.
And France is clear. Well, they've all got new wings. I think they might need to look into new watches for the next race, because that was unbelievable timing on the boat. Sehested, this is great news though. He finished yesterday with a 2nd place, put himself in the picture, and he needs a good wing. Oh, that's clever from Burling. Can he slot in there? Still got the penalty. Needs the French to pass him here. His penalty's cleared off. Here we go. They're into the race. Who will jibe away first? It's Outeridge. He splits the course. First to jibe. He's got a good opportunity to gain as we're on board with Sehested. Nice jibe from Denmark. That was a good recovery by Burling and Outeridge there at the bottom of the line, over the line, but they've come out of that in 2nd and 3rd position with some canny work.
Was that a case, guys, if they just did not anticipate the speed they were going to get off that 29-meter wing? To
Spain, you have OCS penalty still outstanding. You need to go behind GBR.
Todd, coming back to your question, that's exactly what happened with about 30 seconds to go to the start. The breeze built just a couple of kilometres an hour.
You didn't clear your penalty. You didn't clear your penalty before you got to the first
conversation
mark,
going on here between Phil Robertson on board, the Spanish and the umpire. Anyway, yes, just got caught out by 2 kilometres an hour, no more wind. Everyone was too close to the line.
USA, you need to go behind France.
Of course, like herding cats for Craig Mitchell out there today, trying to get the boats back in formation.
They are, but look at that gate too, and Sehested has done a nice job here, as has Peter Burling on board New Zealand.
Penalty clear.
It's taken a long time there, but that's just music to the ear of Peter Burling in the New Zealand boat. Nikolai Sehested on board Denmark, because that's a big lead this early in the race. And Outeridge in 4th place overall, and the Spanish falling back with a penalty. That could have huge consequences for the overall results today.
And look at New Zealand. They dropped both holes into the water as they reached that 2nd gate. So they've got to get that back up to speed with that 29-meter wing, and it's Denmark that has the lead. Japan's probably going to move up on this.
That top of screen there. Here we go. It's tight at the bottom with the French. I think there's going to be a feature today, Todd. These big wings, Carl Langford mentioned it, they're heavy. The tacks are really hard. The crews are struggling to foil through. But look here, the French trying to dive inside Ainsley as they come into the gate. GBR must keep clear, must give Besson room. Ainsley squeezing him here. Wow, there's surely a protest. Surely a protest there on the squeeze. Besson, did he have room? Let's hear what Craig Mitchell has to say, I would imagine. Oh, on board the French. Wow, for me, that was a big squeeze from Ainsley. Not sure if he gave him room there. But not surprised to hear a protest from the French.
And going around the other leeward gate here is France and our overnight leader, the USA, and they have gone to the favoured gate. The gate they have gone round is closer up to gate 3, so effectively they're already sailing a shorter distance than GBR and France. USA are going to come back with a good spot, having gone round 3 places behind those 2 boats. They could jump up the ladder instantly.
Okay, I can get you popping now.
There we go. That's Paul Campbell-James there talking to Jimmy Spittle and talking about building speed here. Listening for 30 kilometres an hour. Doesn't think he can make the speed. Let's not try and get on the foils. We'll stay on one hull, like the new Danish boat is at the moment. They're on one hull. They're not trying to go too fast. They're trying to sail a shorter distance. That's your option, always. Faster, or they're up on the foil. Now they're building speed, and now they'll start to build away into more wind.
So Denmark SailGP, presented by Rockwell, has the lead right now because of the penalties that were dished out on the first leg.
Oh, jib sheet snapped. Jib sheet snapped on board the Danish boat. You can see the sail flapping. That's probably about 15 to 20% of their overall power.
Oh, Fred, a flappy sail is not a happy sail, and that Danish crew, they were winning the race. They were getting themselves back into the event. Disaster for the Danish crew.
And this is a new jib on board, as well as a new wing. We have a much bigger jib to go on board. And you can, I quite like how chilled out Sehested is. He's just like, that didn't last long.
Is there any opportunity to repair that as they go?
No, if the rope is broken, then the rope is broken. You can't tie a knot in it and sheet the sail back on because it wouldn't go through the turning blocks. So they're going to be sailing around with a flappy sail. got a big lead.
Yeah, big lead, but Japan will be chasing that down. Interesting, Nikolai Sehested, round the world yachtsman, had a lot of these sort of situations. Right. He's going to be calm in this position here, I'd say.
Japan sits in second place right now, New Zealand in third, and then you see the rest of the fleet really back there with France more than 300 meters behind. The USA, the leaders coming into race number 4, are currently sitting in 6th place more than 450 meters back of Denmark. But as we said, Denmark having some issues on board. You know, if they had a superstar grinder like Freddie Carr, they might be able to MacGyver that thing. But as it stands right now, they've got 3 legs to get through this.
They're going to struggle to hang on here, Todd, in these light winds. I think when they next tack, they're going to really find it hard to build speed to get on the foil. So we can see the Spanish, USA, they're at the back of the pack fighting it out on the screen there, and Nathan Outridge, who was 4th before today, he's going to be moving up that leaderboard and really threatening the top. He's on starboard tack. Denmark must stay clear.
Did you hear Nikolai Sehested trying to settle a crew? He said, guys, let's stop freaking out. Let's just do what we can do here. So with a 76 meter, now down to 70, 67, and it's dropping quickly. Japan closing in on Denmark, and this would be huge for Nathan Outridge of Japan if they could get the win here.
We know Nathan loves to use the rules, so he won't be shy of a protest if it's on, but I think Denmark were clear ahead. Brilliant work by Sehested. Oh, that's good. Don't ever look at the jib, sail normal. That was the voice of Tom Johnson, trying to keep Nikolai sailing. He's struggling to make this mark here. I don't know if he's going to make a right turn. If he doesn't, it would be disastrous. Expect Outridge to blast over the top.
You can see there, although Sehested is sailing a high mode, they have lost about 10 kilometers an hour of boat speed because of that jib.
And look at the speed that New Zealand's coming in, close to 40 kilometers an hour, and Sehested down to 20.
It's going to be tricky here for Outridge. Denmark has the that's Nathan Outridge. What do we do here?
Look at the difference between Japan and Denmark on the left. Look at that jib.
Oh, there goes Outridge. He's trying to thread the needle. Not the best jibe from Nathan Outridge. He was forced into that decision. He didn't want to get stuck with the Danish. Look at that Danish jib just flapping in the breeze. But Outridge, that was maybe the wrong call. He's jibed back. He's at 15 kilometers an hour, and he's in the disturbed wind of the Kiwis. Expect a gain for New Zealand, and even Denmark could hang on here with Japan. That's a mistake for Outridge.
And another maneuver coming the way for the Japanese, so they may lose that first place position as Denmark sits in first. Guys, this is when it broke. Watch this. Pop.
Well, that's just such a shame to see for that Danish crew. Obviously trying to save weight with the diameters of the rope they use. Here we go, on board with Great Britain, and we can see Ben Ainslie, he's got a lot of work to do here. He's trying to come back up through the fleet, and that's the wing trim there. You see the back of that wing sail moving all the time. Ian Jensen moving the wing sail all the time there. As we see now, Japan finally up at over 40 kilometers an hour, but how much distance has that cost him? Quite a lot, I would imagine. And Ben Ainslie, well, he's up to 4th at the moment, and he's chasing down Nathan Outridge. Look at Nathan's eyes. He's looking around in this light wind. You're trying to find the breeze. Nathan's, of course, renowned for that. He's renowned for his wind spotting ability.
Going pretty soon here, Chris.
But I'm sure he's brewing that decision at the last turning gate.
2, 1 going forward.
That was very interesting. Let's look at as they step downwind for the last time. We've seen Japan giving up the lead versus New Zealand. That's because New Zealand stepped on from the top gate and jibed in more wind, where the Japanese jibed in a little bit of a hole and had to come back upwind to reattach and get foiling.
As we take a look at the Americans, guys, they split the course. Have they done themselves proper here? Because they're the only ones at the bottom right now. Is this the right call? And can Jimmy Spittle and company make up some time? Because they're in dead last.
I think if you're at the back, Todd, you've got to take a bit of a risk. They've come all the way to this side of the course. You can see how separated from the other boats they are. What that does is it gives them a chance to find more wind, maybe. It's not definitely a good decision, but it's the only way they can give themselves an opportunity. Whereas if you're the Kiwis, like on screen here now, Peter Burling, he's trying to stay near the pack and control where they move. Why? Well, because he's in the lead. He's controlling the decisions. He can make the first choice. Everyone else has to deal with him.
So this is like 4 of 6 on race number 4. One more fleet race to go, and then it'll be the top 3 battling out in the final race of the day. So it's down here to the next gate, then upwind, and then it's a short blast to the finish line. And the Kiwis and Peter Burling have control of this race, with Japan in second. Great Britain has moved up into third, and Denmark still in the fight, now in 4th.
That's the Kiwi boat. Alex Maloney there on the flight controller there. He's making the boat spin up. He said definite displacement. They had to touch the boat down because They couldn't quite get round that mark in time. And that's the voice of Peter Burling there saying, can we build up? I think they've come off the foil they've lost, but I think they've sailed less distance. Outeridge, well, he's attacking them. He's turned right, looking for opportunity, as is Ben Ainsley. What a move by Ainsley under pressure. Got himself back up and into this race.
And some breaking news, they're going to shorten the course, so it will end on this next leg of the next gate. It will be the finish line, so New Zealand, great news for them. Denmark now into second place with a broken jib, and Japan into third.
And with New Zealand winning this race, it would push them up onto 25 points for the overalls here in France. Japan, with their currently in third, that would put them into second, and the USA right now would fall from first overnight into third. Super close between the top six. It would also discount France and USA from getting into the final if it finished where we are.
And France, as they continue to sit in fifth place, the USA has gone now from 8th place to 4th, so Jimmy Spithill doing a fantastic job of salvaging points possibly here on this final leg of race number 4.
That was the voice of Andy Maloney, the flight controller on New Zealand. They're counting the numbers up. He's talking about the boat speed. You need to be over 30 kilometres an hour to foil, and we can see here, New Zealand on starboard tack. The gain line's closing down. They should retake the lead over Japan here, but it's tight. Japan will have to keep clear if it's close.
Japan now in the lead, New Zealand and Denmark. The race will end as they pass through this next gate. So they are on leg 5 of 5 on a shortened race. The wind now just holding steady at just over 16 kilometers an hour. The Americans came into race number 4 as the overall leaders in this regatta, but right now they are back in 5th place trying to salvage points. They need another big finish in race number 5.
Todd, how good a job are Denmark doing at the moment of hanging in this race? They're still there in 4th place at the minute, and they've only got one sail. They've got the big wing, but no jib sail. The Kiwis, they're stretching away here. They're in space. And look at this data here. The boat speed. Japan seems to be going a little bit quicker at the moment, but the Kiwis are fractionally better with their fly time, and that could prove to be crucial, although at the moment, Denmark, they've parked up out of that tack. They've misjudged the turn, and without that jib to help them turn, that's really killing them. Oh, it's a disaster.
They're trying to fix it now. You can see a guy on the bowsprit there trying to fix it, trying to just squeeze a little bit of power out the jib, but
the Americans, look at the Americans are sitting as well.
The Americans are struggling in under this Saint-Tropez shoreline, and look, right-hand side of screen, New Zealand, they're still in the lead, but this is really, really close with Japan. We've seen this battle in the London Olympics, we've seen this battle in the Rio Olympics. Burling against Outeridge is one of the great stories of international sailing, world-class sailing, and at the moment, it looks like Japan and Nathan Outeridge could have popped himself ahead of Japan. As if it's close, Nathan Outeridge is on starboard tack, and he has the right of way.
And here comes Ben Ainsley in Great Britain in 3rd place, so they have moved up 2 positions. So it's New Zealand, Japan, and Great Britain fighting for the finish line as they come down to this last gate. It'll be the finish, and Nathan Outeridge, Japan, closing the gap with the right of way, and it forces New Zealand to have to dip behind, and Great Britain also going to factor into this.
Oh, it's hard to see the course from here, Todd, but my guess is they've both got one more tack to do, and it will come down to who can execute that the best. But in the background, Ben Ainsley and the British, they seem to be sailing that boat fast. On board with the New Zealand boat. There's the finish line there to the right of screen. Looks like a big gain to Nathan Outeridge at the moment, but it will come down to the quality of this tack. Outeridge tacks on board Great Britain. Under 30 kilometres an hour, no one foiling yet. Kiwis are foiling. How good a tack can New Zealand do? That's Chris Draper telling Outeridge to press, build speed. Get us foiling, Nathan.
Winding up here. Is it at the finish line or? It's the finish when we're there.
Look at this. New Zealand. Look at this tact as they come in, and it's the race for the finish line. Japan has a slight lead and starting to grow as Nathan Outeridge has somehow found some pressure in race 4, and the Japanese will take the win on the French Riviera. Great Britain's going to try to edge out Pete Burling and the Kiwis, but it will be the Kiwis and Burling that get 2nd place, forcing Great Britain into 3rd.
What a race that was. That was Ian Jensen and Ben Ainsley discussing whether or not they won the race, but without doubt, great last beat there from Nathan Outeridge.
France will come into the finish line in 4th place. Spithill, this will be huge if he can hold on to 5th. And right now he's being covered by both the Danes and the Spanish as Phil Robertson now makes this maneuver. And he's got the full ley line right there on his left-hand side. Straight in shot now to the finish.
That means he should be lined up well to it here. Ainsley, look, everyone's looking around.
Kiwis and the Japanese are the two that we were racing with. Yeah.
Oh, this is just, look at this. Slingsby's even into the mix now. So now it's a race for Australia and Spain. Remember, every point counts, and the Americans are going to miss out on this. The best they're going to do is 7th. As Slingsby comes in, he will take 5th.
That's really going to have tightened up the overall. Robertson, that's not good news for Robertson, a 6th. He'd sailed so well, but just dropped back a little bit at the end there. But bigger news is Jimmy Spithill. Well, he's dropped out the back, and he's really going to have burnt that overnight lead he had here. He's still going to be right in the mix, but that's really going to hurt him.
So now for the Americans, it's a 5th in race number 1. Then they win races 2 and 3. They come back in race number 4 with a disappointing 7th.
Easiest race whenever. Fucking breaks.
Denmark now with their issues. And does it look like they've got that secured, Freddie? It looks like they may have rigged that just to get to the finish.
Yeah, I mean, they've gone from 1st to 8th. You feel for those lads.
Yep.
And what they're trying to do now is actually get ahead of the curve for race number 2. You know, they've written this race off, and they've already started working on the boat for race number 2. Gutted for those guys, sailing really well. They responded well to the break, talked about sailing the boat, but as soon as you lose about 20% of your engine, there's only one way you're going to go in the fleet.
So their shore crew will come ashore, and they will come on board, I should say, and try to fix that, make a repair to get them back out, because in less than 15 minutes, it is the all-important race number 5, and that will determine who goes in to the final race of the day, the top 3, as we take a look at the provisional results. Japan with the victory in the 8 points, New Zealand finishing in 2nd, just ahead of Ben Ainsley, and Great Britain. France coming in for a solid 4th place finish, and then Denmark just ahead of the USA with Australia and Spain. But the USA really missing out, finishing down the ladder. All right, let's take a look at the key moment of race number 4.
It's got to be the finish, hasn't it? To be honest, what a great finish. They shortened the course, so we didn't have our final reach, so it was going to finish between the windward gate. And you can see that Nathan wound his wing up beautifully. Not lost on me that Chris Draper was the test pilot on the new wing in Aarhus, so he has had more time trimming this 29-metre wing. And that point lost for Ainsley against New Zealand could be pivotal in his hunt for a top 3.
Top mark. I had no idea what to do.
Back on the French Riviera at the France Sail Grand Prix, Japan gets the win in race number 4, and that puts them back into play to make the final race of the day. Remember, we've got another race still to come. That's race number 5, and then the all-important final race of the day. That's only for the top 3 boats to participate in. We're now joined by Nathan Outeridge for Japan SailGP. Nathan, first of all, what was it like out there with that new 29-meter wing?
Yeah, the new wing's a bit of a beast. Definitely got some more horsepower, a little bit more weight in the boat. So nice to pop the hull, but probably not as fast in a straight line. But no, it's holding up well, and we hope it holds up there for the rest of the day.
I know you guys are crunching the numbers just a little bit. What do you need to do in this fifth race, to get yourself into that final?
I guess another good race is going to be important. I think the points is 1 to the Kiwis behind us, 2 to the Americans, and then 4 back to Spain and GBR. So I think a top 4 should get us there. But as you can see, the race course is pretty random. So we just need to keep it simple. And as Keko just reminded me, don't hit anyone because we don't want any penalty points today.
Nathan, as always, thanks for your time. Good luck to you and Chris out there on Japan SailGP. We now jump over to Denmark SailGP, presented by Rockwell. Nikolai Sehested. Nikolai, a great start for you guys. You were looking so strong, so fast, and then a problem with the jib. What happened?
Yeah, unfortunately, we broke a jib sheet on the first upwinds, and it's quite hard to get through the race without a jib sheet. So that's a bit of a bummer, but we'll look forward to next race and redo it.
What is the difference with the feel for you as the skipper with that new 29-meter wing?
Yeah, I mean, it's a really hard wing to sail without the jib because you need so much power on the front of the boat. So if you don't have that jib to help you steering and also to actually take off, then it becomes quite hard. And I think I'd say the jib is a lot more important today than normally, but yeah, we tried our best without the jib, but it wasn't that possible to keep a few boats behind.
Nikolai, we'll let you get to the repairs. Appreciate your time. We'll see you in race number 5. So Denmark continues on with the repairs, guys. It is going to be a pretty quick turnaround. How fast they're going to have to fix. And to Nikolai's point, Freddie, with that big wing, without the jib sheet, you're down so much power.
Yeah, down so much power, and it's about how you manage your emotions during that. Yeah. And he seemed pretty level. I'd take my hat off to him. I would be seriously annoyed leading that race and finishing 8th. So he's a level-headed chap. There's a lot to like about his character.
Nathan Outeridge brings up a good point. You know, obvious, don't hit any other boats and they'll be in good shape. He looks to be in good control with that 29-meter wing and the winds the way they are, Stevie.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, Freddie alluded to it. Chris Draper, you know, he's had the most experience with that. And they're an experienced team. I mean, it's an interesting point. Chris Draper's known as Moley because of his eyesight, and I'm wondering if he can even see the top of that wing now it's so tall.
There's no chance.
You know, it's an interesting feature there, but they've done a fantastic job. That experience in this light wind, it's coming a feature of Nathan just chipping away on that second day, learning into the events, and you know, it's really good to see. The crowd's getting a great view. Those wings are pretty spectacular, but the whole fleet really needs to have a serious think about what they did with their starting, because to me, that was a major feature. 6 of the 8 boats over the start line.
Well, every time the F-50 turns, there are a total of 30 tasks that need to be completed successfully, or it can go horribly wrong. Nathan Outeridge and his crew show us how it's to be done.
So in SailGP, with the F-50s being one design, the boats all have the potential to go the exact same speed. But it's the maneuvers that really make the big difference. So what we need to do to make a maneuver stick is basically drop a dagger board, get it down on the lock, turn the boat, pop the wing and lift the other dagger board up. We do that on the foil, we're on our way. So one of the key things in the run up to a manoeuvre is clear communication. The driver at the back will say stand by for attack or stand by for a jibe. And that's everyone's cue to say get ready. The driver takes the wing sheet from the wing trimmer and says my wing, and that's the cue for the wing trimmer and one of the other crew members to cross the boat. When they're halfway across, you drop the board. Down the flight controller switches focus to getting the board down and on the lock. As soon as it's on the lock, he says made. The helm is clear to turn. As the boat's turning, you pop the wing, and on the exit of the maneuver, the wing trimmer is there with a foot button. He lifts the dagger board up. Everyone sprints across. The helm takes the wheel back. He takes the flight back, and the flight controller crosses. And then when he gets back in the cockpit, he takes the rake back again. Usually the most dangerous time to cross is just before the manoeuvre. If you get a little wobble or a little leeway skid, the wing trimmers can get pretty worked. They can trip, they can go overboard. That's why we're all tethered on.
Manoeuvres are the place where we can make our biggest gains and losses, but it's also the place where it's most dangerous. That's where the boats converge at each other. That's when the skipper lets go of the wheel and crosses to the other side, so no one's steering. It's a dangerous part of the race.
That's why we say in the F50s that the manoeuvres are the most important part of the race, because once the boats are up to speed, it's the manoeuvres where the gains and losses are.
We are just moments away from race number 5 of the France Sail Grand Prix here in Saint-Tropez. All right, Freddie Carr, you've crunched the numbers on your abacus. Where does it look like there's going to be some movement possibly in this next race?
Well, 6, 7, 8, Denmark, France, Australia are done. I think they're going to, well, they won't make the final, but just look how close it is between Japan and Spain. And you can see how crucial losing New Zealand on the line was for Great Britain there. So what's your mindset? Great Britain and Spain have to go and pretty much win this race to get in the top 3. And Stevie, your mindset, if you're Japan, New Zealand or the USA, are you attacking or are you playing backwards?
Well, Jimmy Spittle's got no opportunity to attack. I think it's Burling and Outridge. It's probably not in their nature. They're good in these light winds. I still can't help but think that you have to arrive in this final race with momentum. If you go in having sailed a defensive, easy race in the race number 5 beforehand, it is. But my worry would be Phil Robertson, hardcore starter, Ben Ainsley, hardcore starter. If there's any 2 people that can go and win a race when they have to win a race, I'd give that to Ben Ainsley or Phil Robertson. So expect fireworks at this start.
So it'll be which team will blink first. It's kind of like American football. You go into prevent defense, and the only thing it does is prevent you from winning. So I doubt that Jimmy Spithill's going to play it on the back foot and play conservative. He'd like to get back to his winning ways and carry that momentum as we are now 1 minute away from the all-important 5th race.
No, the start and this light wind's too important. Okay, so that's Outridge. He's talking about Ben Ainsley maybe being able to affect him from here. Draper and Outridge really discussing this start. We see the blue triangle, left-hand side of screen there. That shows us that this end of the start line, the near end for us, is the hot spot. It's pole position. But at the moment, Ainsley and Burling, top right of screen, they've got the opportunity for a run-in, but will they get trapped out here? 30 seconds coming down to the start. Potentially a gust at the top of the screen, just under the clock, maybe a bit more wind. Ainsley looks like he spotted it. He's making a definite move up the line here with 20 seconds to go. But for me, it's all about what can Spithill do at the bottom. Can he shut out Great Britain diving into the fleet here? He's on the foils with 10 seconds to go. We're turning down. It's too small a gap, Ben. Surely you're not going to fit through there. Surely that's too tight. Spithill spins the boat with 3 seconds. Big incident. Oh, gunned USA. Clear at the line, Spithill there. Oh, that's a bit of a big moment by Ainsley. Penalty for that incident. He's got to drop behind Denmark. It might not be too costly as Denmark, Rottwell sponsored, and USA first on the foil.
Penalty for GBR, not giving room, and so penalty clear.
And Ainsley knew it as soon as he did it. He was apologising to the lads, but like you said, he's still in the race.
Rolled the dice as Ben Ainsley was trying to channel his Emma Raducanu to see if he could pull off the big victory there at the line, and he tries to squeeze in, guys. The penalty there, I wonder if there was contact made. We'll have to revisit that, but as they come up to mark number 1, it is Denmark once again in the lead with Australian second and the USA in prime position sitting in 3rd.
Well, that's a big result. We did say Ben Ainsley needed to win the race, but at the right-hand side of the screen, Japan, Great Britain, and New Zealand are at the back. Spithill, first to jibe. He's going to be in good shape here. Looks like he's on the foils and up and running, and it's nice to see the Danish, after that disastrous breakage in the race before, moving to the lead.
Is this the event that the Americans get their first overall win as Jimmy Spithill tries to guide his team into the final race? They need to be in the top 3. Guys, that start was critical, and Stevie, you've talked about before how important that start was as Ben Ainsley tried to thread the needle in there.
Here we go, watching this replay. There's Ainsley, middle of screen, tries to get through a gap. It's too aggressive. There's no gap to get through. And here we go, look at him, look at that gap, it's shrinking, it's shrinking. He knows he's made a mistake. He apologising to his crew there. Well, that could have got a lot worse. I think that's the rudder hitting the Spanish boat here. That's no good. Look at Ainsley, his eyes everywhere, but it's really rare to see that misjudgment. That was the rudder hitting the back of the Spanish boat, and we're coming into gate 2. Denmark hold the lead. Great work by Sejersted, and Slingsby in second with, interesting, the Spanish up to third. Phil Robertson giving himself a chance. Spittle needs to watch out.
Yeah, this is right now, this is great news for the Spanish and USA. This is not great news for New Zealand and Great Britain. And I have a feeling, because there was contact with the British boat and the Danes, they might have a penalty point or two hanging over them as well.
Press a little bit here.
It's a big crash, wasn't it, Freddie? We're on board with Sejersted there on the helm. He looks calm. Well, he's got to be happy. Leading again. What a day this could have been. Here we go, setting up for attacks. Happy to land. Means he doesn't think he can do a foiling tack. So we need to keep the hull flying. And we see at the bottom there, look, the Kiwis and Japan out the back. Well, we said they could take it easy. This is a bit too easy from the Kiwis and the Japanese at the moment.
So Outeridge hits in 7th place, and look at the Kiwis having all kinds of issues way back in 8th. The battle will be for the top 3 positions. Team USA looks pretty good in 5th place, and Australia now moving up to 2nd, Spain in 3rd, maybe the biggest winners on this race so far.
Absolutely, look at that. New Zealand, he's still got to go to the gate to the left of screen. He's trying to get downwind. This is disastrous. It's in Spain's hands at the moment. What can they do for this race to the final? At the moment, the Kiwis are having a disaster here. Great Britain. That's Ainsley. Look, it's calm back on board the British boat. That's what you've got to do. You've got to reset. Ben's not happy. I think it's a look at the foil there. Probably seeing a bit of damage. But look at Sejersted. He's found wind, sailed a shorter distance, and these are the live results on the screen at the moment, Fred.
Yeah, and it's changing a lot right now, and I think where the Spanish are sitting in 2nd place, they would leapfrog New Zealand and nick 3rd spot off them. This is very, very dynamic.
As it stands right now, it would be the USA, Japan, and New Zealand moving in. But with New Zealand now still mired back in 8th place, they need help. They need Spain or someone else to fall back so they can move themselves in, and that's Australia now battling with Spain for 2nd place.
That's right, the Spanish. This is great to see for Phil Robertson, Florian Trittel, Diego Botan. Botan and Trittel had disappointment in the Tokyo Olympics.
Right.
What a remedy this could be for them. This is Sejersted here and Johnson discussing the mode. They're learning the wing all the time. They want the boat leaning towards them, so the weight of that big wing is helping them. Here we go, setting up for attack here. Sejersted takes the wing. Tom Johnson runs across. Nice tack. Nice tack by the Danish crew there. Pop the boat up onto the foils. Can they get it to fly? They're struggling. No, it's touching down. Having to land the boat down. They just didn't have enough speed to stay on the foils. And in the background, well, it's the Spanish. They've tacked. They're looking slow as well as Besson. Will Besson be the boat to save Burling? Fred, here he is on board with the French. Billy Besson needs a good last race, up to 3rd on the leaderboard at the moment, and we can see it's very difficult.
And these points really don't hurt the other ones that are trying to get into that final race, because Denmark and France at the bottom of the leaderboard, not sure they can even make the final with a win or a 2nd place. So for the USA, this is good news. For Japan, also good news, but New Zealand in 8th place, they got to help themselves.
Well, we've got to see the results. That's all very tight. I'm surprised not to see the Spanish in that screen, but the Danish are very close. But of course, their situation can't get any better.
Right.
New Zealand's can't get any worse. So at the moment for Denmark, they cannot quite make it. And no, it's all about how much can Spain progress up this leaderboard. Are they ahead of Besson and France? Slingsby, well, he needs a good race for the overalls as well, and he's 2nd at the moment. So it's so amazing to see the top guys at the bottom. And, well, it's a big day on the abacus for the guys behind the scenes.
Americans finally coming to view, currently sit in 2nd place as their speed has dropped now precipitously, now below 20 kilometers an hour.
Tight situation at the top here. Robertson has right of way. Can the Australian and the French crew get round the front of him? If they can, it's all okay. If not, yeah, it looks clear. But that was potentially a very tight situation, and Robertson drops from 2nd to 4th. He's going to need to find something special on this downwind leg.
So Denmark, Australia, France right now top 3. As Freddie told us before the start of this race, really not in contention to move on to the final 3. So then you have to look down to teams like Spain, Great Britain, the USA, Japan, New Zealand sitting in last place. For the Americans, I think they probably want to be, what do you think, Stevie, Freddie, one more position higher, maybe 5th or 4th to make themselves feel a little more comfortable?
It's not going to be very comfortable on the board that American boat at the moment, but I imagine it's a lot less comfortable on the Kiwi boat, looking at the score sheet to the left of screen there. Spithill sneaks inside Ainsley. That could be crucial. And we're on board here, trying to get the boat back on the foil. Taylor Canfield sat in the hatch there, in replacing Roan Kirby this weekend as flight controller. Big responsibility on his shoulders, dropping into the team like this.
Cooper Dressler also joining Team USA as they are back to 5. Yesterday they were sailing with 3.
Right, I'm happy to be wrong because I'm scratching my head more than I've ever scratched it in my life. Right now, I've got Japan on 26, USA on 25, New Zealand on 25, Spain on 24, Great Britain on 23, Denmark on 21. But like I said, that comes with a big caveat, because this race is wide open.
Does that caveat your C grade in GCE mathematics, Freddie?
I got a B, thank you.
But yeah, we see top of 6, top of screen as well. What's going to change those maths was Phil Robertson has found more wind. We're seeing the Danish crew up on the foils and flying ahead, but the leaderboard tells us that Spain have moved through to 3rd. He did find more wind, and that one place can turn out to be absolutely crucial for this final race. I think Robertson knows that as he tries to cover off Besson and the French team and cling on to that 3rd place.
Nikolai Sehested and Denmark SailGP, presented by Rockwell, looking for their 2nd win. Remember, they got a victory in Aarhus in Denmark, and it's all on Spain now, trying to reel them in and get themselves into the final.
Oh, that's a big moment. We said that. He's up to 3rd. He needs to cling on to this 3rd place. Robertson here. Okay. Phil Robertson, he's worried that the French are on starboard. When I jibe, I need to jibe and dip behind, because when he jibes, he'll be on port. He doesn't have the right of way. Big move coming up for the Spanish there as we see the Danish round up at gate 4.
As the Danish go round the leeward mark in the lead, I'm looking at my umpire app, which is my over-the-top course. I can see the whole course, and New Zealand haven't even gone round the windward mark yet. They are going to finish 8th, so do not expect them to move up the leaderboard. They are dropped off the back of the fleet.
And look at the difference in speed as they approach gate 4. Spain, 42 kilometres an hour. Australia at just 15. Disastrous jibe by Slingsby. And that's opened the door for Robertson now. Can he get round the outside of the French? He needs to stay in 3rd to make the final.
Oh, this is big for Spain. This really could catapult them up into the final.
That was a great bottom end of the leg there. We're on board with the French saying H1. Well, that's H2, boys. You've overdone it. Here we go. They're going to get the boat up on the side. H1 now, and they're trying to hold that gap. But look, one boat foiling, one boat in the water. I'd rather be on the foiling boat, thanks. So would Phil Robertson. Look at him. Look round as the French disappear out of shot.
This is leg 5 of 6 in race number 5. They finish this, then it's a quick, short right-hand turn to the finish line as the USA now gets around the gate, finally at gate number 4. Ahead of Australia, and Great Britain and Japan have fallen off the pace.
Look at that jibe, how much it's cost Australia. They're limping in like a snail to this turning mark, and they've gone from 2nd to 6th on that downwind just due to one bad jibe where they couldn't quite get the speed. Jimmy Spithill, well, it's not his most glorious race, but he snuck up to 4th. Paul Campbell-James talking to him there.
Pop if you want it right now.
There you go, they're being conservative. They don't want to risk getting up on the foil. They're going to try and minimise the distance they sail by sailing a bit closer to the wind with the hull up. And there, Phil Robertson crosses ahead of the French, and it looks really, really good as at the top of the screen, there's the Kiwis coming downwind. Disaster for Burling, Tuke and Maloney on board that boat.
And I think with that leeward mark manoeuvre by the Spanish on the French, that might just be the point they need. It pushed them up into 2nd place in this race, and that will push them up into 2nd place. If you're in the top 3, you're racing in race 6, the grand final.
On board with France.
France have got an issue with their jib, I've just heard. Have they got the same problem that Denmark had in race 1?
Is this a byproduct, you think, of the 29-meter wing?
There's so much load going through these boats with that massive amount of wing and sail area up there, and they're learning as they're going.
Here we go. That's Tom Johnson. He's trying to get the boat to lean on top of him. If that leans on top of him, that big wing sail's helping keeping him upright and giving him more power. And there you go. Look at the speed build for the Danish. And it's tight, though. Phil Robertson's on a charge. Really tight.
And once again, like in race number 4, the course has been shortened, so it will finish at the next gate. The finish line coming up. There you see it less than, 250 meters away is Denmark on their way to their second victory of season 2. As Spain closes in, they don't have to win this race to get themselves into the grand final. Just hold steady on position 2 as France bears in on 3rd.
It's all going to come down to this one tack here now, guys.
And this is why Spain are going to get into the final. They didn't have a great start. They went round in 5th. They are now in 2nd, and they're the 3 points that they needed to get them 2nd overall.
Story of their season, Freddie. They're great at overtaking boats, best in the fleet at overtaking boats statistically. Split screen here. Look at this tack. Phil Robertson on the left, the Danish crew on the right. That's Costa in the hull there, flying the boat, and it's a good tack by both crews. Could be a race victory for Danish. Have to say they thoroughly deserve it after that poor luck in the one before.
You could argue they should have won 2 races today, and then they would have been in the grand final. I'm gutted for them. I'm gutted for them.
There you go. That's exactly, there you go. Sehested could have been 2 from 2.
It will be Denmark on the French Riviera getting the victory in race number 5. Spain will come into 2nd place, but that's good enough to get them into the grand final.
Nice one, boys. Good race.
That's good news. Florian Trittel was in the NACRA class in Tokyo. Diego Bourtin, his head down there. The flight controller, 49 are both of the medal favourites. Both of them came home empty-handed. What a result it would be to take away a win here in SailGP.
I'm gonna talk about theories here. If Denmark had won the race where their jib sheet broke, they'd be at the top of the event leaderboard with 2 wins today. Gutted for them.
Absolutely gutted, but great improvement. And nice for Besson to finish with a 3rd place. But I heard there, Phil Robertson, we need to check the damage. That's coming back to that. That could, of course, have an effect on the final. If that Spanish boat has been damaged by Ben Ainsley's British boat, what effect could that have on the final? It certainly didn't seem to have slowed it down.
It will be the USA coming into 4th place with Slingsby sitting in 5th. So Great Britain looks to be shut out of the final.
So the Americans booking their spot. We're used to seeing them in the final. They are the most unlucky crew in the final. Let's see how this one pans out for them. They're often there, but they never deliver so far.
We'll see if Jimmy Spithill can guide his team. They've been in the final before, unable to deliver the big win, and today could be their day on the French Riviera at the France Sail Grand Prix here in Saint-Tropez.
Hold wheel straight.
Great Britain's going to come in with some nice speed, good angle. They're going to overtake Australia. They will finish in 5th place, but just a little too late.
So we're rolling round to our 15-minute race time, and as Australia cross the line, 15 minutes rolls past, and the scores that you see down the left-hand side of the screen is where we're going to finish. So that is it. Race 3 is in the race 5 is in the can.
So Japan goes from a race 4 finish victory, and they finish in 7th. New Zealand finished in 2nd in race 4, and they go to 8th. What a turn of events from race 4 to 5 as we take a look at the leaderboard. And there you see Jimmy Spithill and Team USA, 27 points. They will go in as, you could say, the #1 seed. Spain finishing in 2nd, and Japan in 3rd place, just 1 point clear of New Zealand. So Nathan Outteridge finding some luck out there, and he'll have 1 more race to go as we take a look at the key moments from race number 5.
Well, the key moment has got to be the Spanish taking this place off the French. They didn't have a great start. They were 5th at Mark 1, but they just sailed through the fleet. From day 1, we've been talking about how the Spanish are pretty quick, and they proved it in this race. They sailed around the French. They've been looking pretty slippery all day. This is them jumping up into 2nd place. They were leading this overall season after 2 events, and they're in the French final.
Doesn't matter where you live. You can live on the coast, you can live in the middle of a continent. But your life is absolutely dependent on the work of other species. The problem is that we have been abusing our natural world so much that nature cannot keep up with us. We are destroying our only home. We are unplugging our life support system for short-term gain. But the world is moving and there is huge momentum. There is no going back.
We have a real opportunity to change attitudes and to help actually to create solutions. We really felt that there was an opportunity to help promote the acceleration to clean energy and champion a cleaner world powered by nature.
At SailGP, we're climate positive, which means you have more impact on the world than your footprint. We race for the future for our kids, for our families, for the cities we all live in and race at, and for our oceans.
I have hope because I have seen the ability of the ocean to recover, to bounce back, if we just give it space. The sailing community have a huge role to play because sports have the ability to reach more people than anything else on the planet. We all depend on each other's behavior. There is no me alone anymore. The best way for people to understand what we're doing to the planet is to see it. And the best way for people to act is to fall in love again with nature. So sailors, please take as many people as possible into the ocean. Take people with you. That's one of the longest term contributions that you can make.
Well, there's also a race within the race at SailGP Season 2. It's the Impact League scoreboard, and this is how the teams are reducing their carbon footprint at every stop they visit around the world. New Zealand doing a fantastic job. All the teams are. Everyone doing it in a different way. Great Britain and Aarhus reducing their dairy and meat intakes on their meals. So it's little things like that that get them up the leaderboard, currently sitting in second place, but everyone doing a fantastic job for SailGP and the race for the future. All right, CB, let's go back to the incident that took place, and it's all about the start and Ben Ainsley.
Expect fireworks, and here as we pause the start, just before we look at Ben Ainsley in the British boat, we see Sejersted, the Danish crew there, and Spithill. There's under pressure, all these guys. Ainsley comes diving in. He's a long way back with 15 seconds to go, but right now he spots a gap between the Spanish and the Danish. He thinks, I can get in there. That's my opportunity to dive in, and he takes it on. He's on the foil. No one else is on the foil as he dives for the gap, but that gap is shrinking, and then it's gone by the time he gets there. As we zoom in on the action now, we can just see there's not enough room for an F50 catamaran there. The boat crashes, and it's disaster for Ainsley, and Phil Robertson not to blame this time in any way.
So as we go on board Spain SailGP, their skipper Phil Robertson. Phil, you're into the big show now with the new 29-meter wing. What do you expect as you go against some of the best?
Yeah, look, nothing really changes. We've been racing against the best every race, so 29-metre wing, it's a bit of a different game. It's a lot harder to manoeuvre, and the breeze is actually getting lighter and shifting right a lot, so it's becoming very holy on the course. So we're looking to slingshot off this line and give it our best shot.
Phil, we heard talk about possible...
Guys, we're in a bit of a hole here.
Sorry, Phil, we heard talk about possible damage to the boat on that last race. Can you give us an assessment of how you're doing?
Hey, we need a tow, guys. We need a tow.
I think Phil's in full race mode.
Our boat's pretty damaged, but we're okay.
Okay, they're going to make it
quick
happen.
side tow, just the bow. We need to go.
All right, we'll turn Phil loose, let him get ready for this last race, the grand final, and it should be a good one. As Phil said, he faces the best every race, and that's exactly what the SailGP has. The best sailors in the world. Jimmy Spithill, look at the numbers on him. SailGP Fleet Races won 7 of 25. He's looking for that big final race winning. He's been in it twice before, has yet to win it, just been struck by bad luck. But 2 of 7 on America's Cup and 2 World Championships for the Bit Bull, Jimmy Spithill. Spithill, of course, winning those 2 America's Cup. Big one in San Francisco on the comeback. So we'll see if the comeback kid can get it done again here in Saint-Tropez. Nathan Outteridge, great numbers as well. SailGP Fleet Races won 16 of 50, a good percentage there, and he's already won 2 on the season. And the America's Cups, he's had experience, 6 world titles with a gold and a silver medal on Olympic competition. We'll see how the Wind Whisperer can do with a 29-meter wing here in Saint-Tropez on the French Riviera. And then we just spoke with him, Phil Robertson. He'll be in the big final. We'll see what he has. Always exciting to have Phil Robertson in close quarters on the start line. He said they got a bit of damage on the boat, so the 3-time world champion. We'll see what he brings to the party. But I'll tell you what, you've got Slingsby not in this race. You've got Ben Ainslie not in this race, but you do have Spithill, you do have Outteridge, and now you factor in Phil Robertson, who seems to love to get right in the middle of the problems.
This is interesting for me, boys. This is the top 3 from Taranto. This is the 3 that we saw in Taranto fighting it out in light winds. We're doing the same thing. Let's go to Ali. She's got some news on the Spanish boat. Let's see what you've got, Ali. What you got on the water?
The umpires, boundary penalty Spain, boundary penalty Spain.
Well, there you go, a penalty there in this pre-start bit. The Spanish were outside the zone. We heard Phil Robertson panicking, but Ali's going to give us a bit of an update on the boats.
Confirmation that there is damage to the Spanish boat between that's happened in the collision between the Great Britain boat and the Spain in the pre-race, so just over the start in the last race. Spain have got damage, but they're going to be clear to race because the umpires deemed that the GB boat were in the wrong, so there'll be no points deduction for Spain. They're clear to race in this final.
Seconds now to go. Who's got the best position?
Well, at the moment, Outteridge has dug inside. Phil Robertson must start behind the other 2 boats. That's the penalty he's been given already. Spithill trying to find space, but Outteridge, that's a dominant starting position. Who can be on board, up on the foils at the soonest moment after this start will be crucial. Spanish will have to start behind the fleet. That's their penalty. We see that they're hanging back, but he's got an opportunity to be on the foils and make that a very small penalty. Spithill turns towards the line with 6 seconds to go. There's no room at the top. Outteridge looks like he's slightly late. Is Spithill early? Outteridge is late. Spithill nails the start. There's nowhere in there for Robertson. Surely another protest coming at the start there. Penalty for the pre-start's clear. Will he get another one as Spithill up on the foils, advantage Spithill.
Could Japan get to Spain? That's the question that Craig, the umpire, will be looking at. Could Japan get to Spain? Doesn't look like it because there's no Spanish penalty.
The majestic F-50s off and running here on the French Riviera.
Turning away there, that's Paul Campbell-James. Look, the mark's way off to the left of screen. Spithill closing the boats out, and now he's trying to keep the boat going away. We heard Phil Robertson say, big right shift, and
there it is. The umpires, Spain, you have a penalty. You need to go behind Japan.
Oh, pre-start penalty. That was long and late.
Was that not a black flag previously?
You're absolutely having one.
It's another penalty, Phil. It's another penalty, mate. I think that's the problem there. No good. We don't like to hear that.
Is Phil Robertson the gift that just keeps on giving on close races?
Seems to be here. And look at that. We've got some boats in the field of play at the moment. Let's hope that doesn't become an issue. But a great jibe by Jimmy Spithill. He's around Mark 1, and he's obviously looking for this big wind shift that's happened. Could be heading straight towards gate 2.
That's a put-behind penalty on the Spanish on the Japanese. The Japanese weren't looking great. They've now just done a bad jibe. What does this all mean? This means it's great news for the boat we're on board with now, as the other 2 boats are just drifting back behind them. The course is wide open.
Penalty clear, penalty clear, penalty clear.
Look at the speed difference there, Freddie. USA 44 kilometres now. The other 2 boats at just 30, and in the background we can see the Spanish are off the foils. Penalty showing on board Japan at the moment. Not sure what that's for, but here we go. They're on board the Spanish boat. Those big grinders, Sean Barber, working hard. Oh, he's got to get things calm on board the boat here. Big moment of bad luck there, and at gate 2, Jimmy Spithill is just running away with this. The rich are going to get richer here.
So at this gate, it is USA SailGP looking to break their string of bad luck on season 2, and Jimmy Spithill, you've just given him a huge advantage.
Well, it it's no surprise to see them take a left turn there. We've heard about a right-hand shift. They're sailing towards that shift. Jimmy Spittle's trying to find the shortest path to the next mark, and Phil Robertson hanging on to second place despite those penalties. I think the race is for second and third because Jimmy Spittle, barring disaster, although we've said that before, Fred.
Well, barring disaster, the Americans are winning this race. They were winning the final in Taranto and their rudder broke. They were winning the final in Plymouth and they fell out the sky because of a rudder problem. So my question to Jimmy is, how your rudders feeling, mate? Because if they're feeling shaky, we've seen it before.
Well, we can see it's got light after this bottom gate. Gate number 2, it's been a bit of a change-up. There's only 100 metres in it at the moment, and the Americans struggling to get back on the foils with Phil Robertson foiling right out towards this boundary. It's a long, long race, I think. Maybe calling it a little bit too early.
That was the voice of Paul Campbell-James encouraging his boat there. Come on, boat, let's get going. And you never know in these high-stress situations, a bit positive chat, get the boat on the foil, there's another 5 kilometres an hour.
One of the beautiful mega yachts in the background. Talk about a great view. Look at this. The USA out in front, Spain in second, Japan in third. This is the grand final at the France Sail Grand Prix in Saint-Tropez. The Americans with the lead. There's the crew, Spithill, Campbell-James, Canfield, Sinclair, and Andrew Campbell on board.
That's right, big moment for Taylor Canfield. He's jetted in last minute to replace Rome Kirby. He was having to try and pass COVID tests in the middle of the week, and then he's having to learn to fly an F50 with this huge new wing.
Yep. It's going to be H1 here, probably. Yeah,
That's
H1.
it. We're talking here, look how high they're struggling to fly the boat on board the Japanese boat. The only boat up and foiling at the moment is the Spanish. As the US fall off the foils, they go H1. That means when they've just got one hull in the water and they're just trying to minimise the drag by keeping only one hull out of the water, but they're not fast enough to get up on the foils and fly.
Tell you what's happened on this upwind, there's been a big right shift, a 30-degree right shift. That means that the USA, who are out to the right of Japan, are rotating inside them and increasing their lead. But I tell you what, it's not about shift anymore, it's about wind. Where is the next puff of wind coming from?
That's the voice of Nathan Outridge there talking about what's going on. I like where the Spanish have gone if it's turned right. They could come back in later on in things here, but no, popping up onto the foils, it's the USA. They found that gust of wind first. Good news for Spithill and Campbell-James on the American boat, and the Japanese finally up on the foils, the first time on this upwind leg. And look at that, Morishima going hard on the grinding pedestal there. Nathan Outridge setting up for attack. The Spanish still not in any wind at the moment, 25 kilometres an hour, and it's Outridge chasing down Spithill. We saw this in Taranto. What's going to happen here with the Spanish on starboard tack, but some way back?
So as they approach gate number 3, USA in the lead, Japan in second, Spain falling back their speed under 30 kilometers an hour here in the grand final.
And the Japanese, they're up, they should be foiling, the Americans squeezing it up on the foil, but I think it'll be a small gain to Outridge. It's going to be who can sneak the boat up and through this gate first. That's Campbell-James, take the height up. He's talking to Jimmy Spithill. They want to try and take a right turn on gate 3 here. Spithill can definitely do that.
Yeah, copy.
Feels like the Americans are laying, and it feels like the Japanese definitely have to do another tack. If you're Jimmy Spithill, do you match or do you try and lay in on this?
I think I match, but he's let him go. He's trying to keep it simple. It's Campbell-James there. We can make it easily. Reassuring words from Campbell-James, but there will be a split now, and we've seen how gusty the wind is, Freddie. What we need to see is what the sailors can see, which is where the wind is. Who's guessed right as to where the breeze is? Turning right was Jimmy Spithill, but he's sailing towards Saint-Tropez, and now turning the mark, Nathan Outridge. Well, this could be crucial. Who finds the next gust of wind could determine who wins here in Saint-Tropez. Outridge,
so Japan looking for their second overall victory of season number 2, the USA looking for their first, and Spain currently sitting in third, trying to get back into it. They fall off the speed incredibly as they drop down, and it looks like advantage going to Japan as their speed is starting to increase over 40 kilometers an hour.
You don't often bet against Outridge in these conditions, do you? And he's come round the mark. Looks like he's found breeze. That's Jimmy Spithill. He's trying to build the speed. He's talking another one to windward. He's talking about a gust, another gust to windward. He's looking for the darker patches on the water. There you go. Wow, big gust. Look at the boat tip up. Look at the background there.
And look at the true wind speed, USA and Japan just had about 3 kilometers an hour more wind over on that far side of the course. I wonder if we'll see that translated when they come back together.
Well, look at the angle difference, Freddie. The wind has swung right round to the Saint-Tropez shoreline, so that means Jimmy Spittle at the moment is sailing a much shorter distance, but if that wind reaches outerage, he'll be through gate 4 and gone. There you go. He's finding that right-hand wind. That's Chris Draper saying, reassuring, yeah, good wind, take it down. Whoa. Big shift, big catch. The wind is changing direction all the time. The horsepower that's going into these boats is changing all the time.
That's a reset, and I just think the right shift has hung in on the Americans here, and they're just paralleling the boundary coming down as the Japanese are only H1 and the Americans are foiling, and the Americans have got one jibe to do in. This next cross is massive.
The only fact that matters here is which wind is the leeward marking. If the wind's in that wind at Saint-Tropez side where Jimmy Spittle's in, it's great news for Jimmy Spittle. If the wind's in the other direction, then Nathan Outteridge could make his way down and he won't have to do another jibe, which would be huge for Japan. Here we go.
I'm looking at the numbers, and the breeze at the leeward gate is in the right-hand shift, but it looks like the Japanese have got good pressure.
Big gain this will be for Nathan Outteridge. He can sneak round that mark with gate 2 on it. Just trying to keep the boat tipped onto one hull. Look, the crew running down to help it turning down. Look at Outteridge, he's pointing at us, he's not. He's pointing at wind on the water. This wind that Phil Robertson mentioned before the start.
Back off from the water. Okay, wing to leeward, please. Big wing down. And that mark is so far down there, so it's definitely go and then probably lead the tack. Hopefully we get
hope to come back, and they're trying to find that wind, but...
And guys, the course has been shortened yet again, so it'll be to leg number 5 will be the last leg to the finish line. It will not be that last reach.
Still stuck at the top of the course.
Right, I'm reading the wind data from the top of the course, and the breeze goes 40 degrees back left, and the pressure doubles.
Well, there you go. Big decision to make here for Outteridge then. He's got to try and guess which way Jimmy Spittle's going to go.
Right now.
There you go.
And then we want to get it and get across to the left at the top.
He's seeing what you're seeing, Fred.
Well, I'm only seeing it because I've got the instrumentation coming off the mark. So the wind direction at the bottom is out of 200 degrees. The wind direction at the top is out of 150. At the top, it's 17 kilometers an hour. Where they are now, it's 6.
This is the last leg, I'd say. If Outteridge can find the breeze before Spittle, Outteridge is going to be in good shape. But this is a huge opportunity, and it's all about finding those dark patches of water. The sailors can't see the wind, but they can see the wind hitting the water, and they can see the effect that has, Todd.
Amazing how the wind has dropped down. It was at 16, 18 kilometers an hour to start the day. It is now below 8. And this is just a casual cruise now at 5, back up to 6 kilometers an hour. So no one's going to be foiling with that kind of wind speed.
Super light. You've got to move like a mouse in carpet slippers here. Get ready for attack. Chris Draper, look. Took that little lift. That's helping them turn up. The Spanish there at 25 kilometers now. Could be back in the game. I like the decision by Outteridge in Japan, though. Early tack. He thinks he can then make a long way back up the course. Phil Robertson, he's going to split. He's going to turn right. Rolling the dice. Will he come up Yahtzee?
So this is the last leg of the grand final. Japan with the lead, the USA finally rounding that gate. They're onto the final leg, and Spain coming in hot.
Spain up on the foils in the background. That's Paul Campbell-James saying we can lift a hull out the water, tip us up, reduce the drag. But look at the angle Outteridge is sailing. He's sailing almost straight up those ladder lines. That suggests he's aiming nearly straight at the next gate. Phil Robertson setting up here. Looks to split away straight into attack, using that speed into the attack. Jimmy Spittle needs to respond here, or Phil Robertson. Great manoeuvre by the Spanish crew there, nearly kept it on the foils, but it's an aggressive tactical manoeuvre, and they're foiling again straight away. What a move by Robertson.
Could Spain go from last to first on the final leg here in the grand final? They've overtaken the Americans who had the lead early on. Japan holds it now, but they're in light breeze.
Yeah, Phil Robertson's talking about the lefty, and that was the breeze that we saw at the windward gate as they were coming into their last leeward gate. So Phil Robertson is rolling the dice. He's seen that pressure there, but it looks like the Japanese are in a pretty controlling position.
Oh, Alteridge, he's been in this position before. He's up and foiling. What a sight for Japanese fans. That in left-hand shot is Alteridge. Right-hand shot, Robertson. It's a nice move by Phil Robertson, but Nathan Alteridge is nearly aiming at the finish. Looking at these ladders, that yellow line is the lay line. He's sailing parallel to that yellow line. That suggests to me he's nearly aiming at the finish. What a moment this could be for the Japanese. And Jimmy Spithill, even the wind gods shut off for him when he was in a comfy lead.
Unbelievable. Not a technical malfunction this time for the Americans, as they just fell into an empty pocket of wind on that last rounding at gate number 5, and Japan catapults into the lead. They came slow, and then they found the breeze as Phil Robertson of Spain have pushed into second place. But the French Riviera will belong to the Japanese as Nathan Outridge will claim his second win. Congratulations, Japan SailGP, as they claim the France Grand Prix.
You don't mess with Nathan Outridge on a light, shifty day, do you?
A light, shifty day and a 29-meter wing, and Outridge somehow finds a way to milk the most out of the course.
Oh, it's battle for second though. Spithill looks like he's found that wind. He's up and foiling, and he's coming straight through. Good save by Spithill. I don't think the Spanish will get out of that corner. I love the move by Phil Robertson. He had to take on, he had to attack, completely embrace what he did there. He's got some complaints at the start, I'm sure, but Jimmy Spithill, he sailed a brilliant event, but second again. He's happy that'll be good for the season standings.
Yep.
But that's not great news in this event. Jimmy needs a win.
So Japan gets their second win of the season. Australia's had 2 wins as well, and the Americans shut out again at the top spot of the podium. But to your point, Stevie, they finished in second and the boat's intact.
It's better than it's been for them before.
Yeah,
but,
no question. You think about the first race, they finished in 5th, and their wing trimmers got coming off a broken leg.
Yeah,
the second place is pretty awesome.
Yeah, fair one. And Japan, 4th overnight. They love a Sunday and come back and win the event. We've seen them do that before, come away from not being on the podium. And listen to them, having a good old cuddle and celebration.
Who doesn't love a cuddle, Fred?
Japan doing a fantastic job. To Freddie's point, they started the day with a second place, and then they fell out on race number 3, finishing in 7th place. They came back on race number 4, and they get the win. But then in race 5, they fall back to 7th, so kind of all over the board. But it all matters on the final race, race number 6, and it's Japan. No panic as the Wind Whisper and the new 29-meter wing, they sail to another victory in Season 2 of SailGP.
Forward, get the Rolex in the photo.
What a shot and what a job by Japan as they get the victory, but a great final race in the grand final as we now go on board USA SailGP. Jimmy Spithill, what a fight for you guys, Jimmy. You guys started the series off with a 5th place, then you come back to get 2 wins, and getting into the final was so tricky. What happened on the bottom part of that course with the wind?
Yeah, I thought it was a really well-served regatta for the team. You know, good to see CJ back from his injury, Taylor filling in for Rome, and yeah, solid race. You know, full credit to Japan. Pretty tough conditions, you know, back and forwards out there, but look, we're happy to walk away with a second.
Jimmy, you guys walk away with a second. You bring back the Bionic Man with the broken leg. You guys get into the grand final, and more importantly, no damage to the boat, so you guys come away with a clean race.
Yeah, it's quite unbelievable, isn't it, Todd, that no one's broken a bone, we haven't hit anything, and man, the boat's floating. Unbelievable.
All right, thanks for your time, Jimmy. We will see you in Spain. So positive attitude for Jimmy Spithill and his crew as they get a 2nd place in the grand final. I guarantee that win is on the horizon for them. They are knocking on the door, but the team that wins and rules the day, once again, it's Japan and Nathan Outridge with Chris Draper at his side as we take you on board Japan SailGP. Nathan, once again, you live up to the moniker of the Wind Whisperer, this time with a 29-meter wing. It was in doubt there on that last race. You guys didn't get the best of starts. How did you remain calm and patient knowing that you were going to get your opportunity?
Come on, Todd, that one was never in doubt. I don't know, it was such a tricky race, and we had 2 breezes fighting each other, as you probably saw, with the left and the right. and wasn't looking very pretty for us off the start, and then with the boundary penalty, but managed to pick the top left and a couple of jibes down. And from there, it was a very stressful final upwind, because once you're in front, all you know is that good chance someone's going to pass you. But you know, we're really happy with how we sailed all week. You know, a few good races, 2 not so good ones, but the team sailed really well. It's a big team effort, these events, and really proud of the whole team.
Nate, appreciate your time. Go celebrate with the crew. Congratulations on your 2nd win of season 2.
Thanks, guys. Cheers.
Well, it's an impressive showing, guys, as we talk about the way it all went down as we watch Japan celebrate on board for the 2nd time in season 2.
It's a big deal. They were 2nd as well in Denmark. They won in Taranto. So Japan are doing a fantastic job on the season at the moment. Been moving up towards the top of the leaderboard. You know, Nathan's putting a solid campaign together here, and it's interesting to see the experience of Outridge, Draper, Bruni. They learnt this wing fastest today.
And you got to love his attitude. It was never in doubt. Come on. He was all over the board.
I think that's got a good dollop of sarcasm with it. Let's be honest. Let's wind back to the start. You know, we saw Phil Robertson pushing in there, and I called it off the line. Could Japan have got to him? And it really stood out to me how long it took Craig to make that call. So he obviously replayed it a few times on his umpire app, and that pushed the Spanish out the game, and we called it from then. This is America's to sail away, but it wasn't a B, it was a light and fluky race course, and credit to Japan, as we've seen over and over again. They sniffed out the breeze, and there's the regatta win.
Well, this has happened a time or two in Saint-Tropez. Champagne being popped on the French Riviera, and this time it's Japan Sail GP. And remember, guys, it's a pretty quick turnaround, about a month away from Spain Sail GP and Cadiz on October 9th and 10th.
Not sure you can normally afford to be that wasteful if you've bought a bottle of that down in Saint-Tropez, to be honest, Todd, but can't blame them. You've got to enjoy that. What a great moment. And I just think, you know, they've really delivered in these light winds so consistently. There's a lot of teams out there hoping we find a bit more breeze when we get to Cadiz.
So Australia has 2 wins, Japan has 2 wins, Great Britain is also on the scoreboard. Jimmy Spithill is knocking on the door. Remember, it all leads up to March of 2022 when you want to be in that grand final, and a big check of close to $2 million will be handed out. But today, it is all Japan Sail GP.
Very happy on board the Japanese boats, and the other group of sailors out there today that are very happy is the best young foiling talent from around Europe, and specifically France. We've got the creme de la creme of young foilers here, but the Inspire program is also about getting 10,000 participants between now and season 5 and give them their first little dose of sailing and everything that we've learned from the fantastic sport over the years. Inspire program gets a double thumbs up from me. It's going to roll for the next 5 years at least.
Well, as we bring a close to the end of the France Sail Grand Prix, Stevie, Freddie, final thoughts for you guys as we make the turn for Spain?
Well, I got to say, well, it was pretty stressful for me, Nate, but I think what a great event. Great to see these big new wings, but do you know what I'm most happy about? Paul Campbell, James, broke his leg. He's back on the podium. Really happy for Paul and the Americans.
And before we say goodbye, the points, they look like this on the season. Japan and the USA and Australia all tied with 35 points. Great Britain 1 point behind. This is shaping up to be a great end of season 2.
Unbelievable to see Australia and Great Britain go from 1st and 2nd down, and the other 2 to leapfrog them. Cadiz, bring it on. I want it to start tomorrow.
We will see you next month in October in Spain for the Spain Sail GP. On behalf of Ali Vance, Freddie Carr, and Stevie Morrison, I'm Todd Harris saying so long from the beautiful French Riviera and the France Sail Grand Prix.
Got